Good morning, welcome along. It is a Friday morning and this is Magical Movements for you. A class or a session which is all about fluid three-dimensional movements, rhythmical movements that will help us relax, will also help us to build strength and mobility within our body, working into our core, working into our deep muscles, working on our balance and our stability at the same time. Now this can be done in a seated position, in an active seated position, and if you are in a seated position, then think about lifting tall from that seated position. Or in a standing position with some external support if you need it. We can do a little bit of a warm-up firstly. We're going to do just warm and mobilise the body, boost our circulation a little bit, and then we'll move into our three-dimensional movements from there. The class is aimed at all levels, so whatever your ability level is, this will be working for you. And the more important thing to remember is that whatever your range of motion is, and whatever pace you do this at, is exactly the right pace. There is no driven side to it. So if I'm doing it at a certain pace and you're doing it slower, that is fine. It's what works for you that is the important part of it. So, let's get ourselves ready. We'll start off with a little bit of a circulation booster to start with. So, in our standing position, let's have a look at our posture firstly. We're going to stand with our heels in line with our hips and in line with our ankles, in line with our heels. The knees are slightly soft, and what I mean by that is, can you see how there's a slight bend in the knees? I'm not bending them any further at this stage, I've just got that slight bend in them. But likewise, I'm not locking them out, so you can see how it goes back a little bit further when I lock out. Standing tall, lifting from your hips. So, imagine a balloon between your ribs and your hips. Give it an extra couple of breaths and lift a little bit taller so you separate here. Standing and lifting taller through the centre of your body. Your shoulders are going to come up, back, and we're going to press them down, bringing the shoulder blades together as we press back down, lengthening through our neck. Imagine a piece of string from your head, really tall, so like a string puppet, lifting your head tall as well. So we've got a long, strong body from head to toe. In our seated position, then our posture is just as important. Let me just bring this chair forward a little bit to show you first. From your seated position, if you're at the back of the chair, the first thing I want you to do is hip walk to the front third of the chair. Sitting in the front third of the chair, your knees are in line with your hips and in line with your heels again. Again, that balloon lifting your ribs a little bit taller, so sitting taller, but at the same time, sit tall onto your buttocks. So just a little lift onto those buttocks, so we're sitting tall. Shoulders up, back, down, and pressing back down, lifting tall through this neck. So we're sitting and standing tall. Chair out there out of the way for a moment. Okay, so let's start with some mobilisation. So we're going to start with our feet. What I want you to do is just lift onto the ball of your foot, lifting those heels off, pressing the weight down through the ball of the foot as you do. Create a little crease between your toes and the ball of your foot. So you're coming up onto the toes and the ball, peeling that heel off the floor. Feel the movement through the back of your calves, through your legs, and feel the knees moving. A little bit of movement here into our hips as well. From there, let's lift these shoulders up and give the arms a little shake. Lift up and shake it out. Okay, moving into our shoulders. Just keep a little tap of those toes going, or a little wiggle of those toes. Lift your shoulders towards your ears and press back down. And again, lift up and press. In our seated position, exactly the same. A little bit of movement into those toes. If you struggle with that lift and the tap of the toes at the same time, just a little shift of weight from side to side. From there, we're going to do our shoulders in a rotational movement. So bring them forward firstly. Lift towards your ears. Bring them back and the shoulder blades together and press down. And again, lifting up, coming back together and pressing down. Just lengthening through the whole of that shoulder. And as you do that motion, feel the whole of the shoulder joint moving. Feel it mobilizing as you rotate through. Just a couple of those, 3, 4 or 5 is enough of those. And then from there, hold on to some support if you need to. Turn your head to the side. Come back into the center with a little pause. And then across to the other side. Your eye line is staying level. So we're working through the head and our neck, mobilizing. Now, as we turn our head, this can challenge our balance. So as I say, have some support available, should you need it. From there, take a little pause, come into the back of the neck. Now, if I feel the back of my neck, and you're probably the same, you can feel a little bobble at the top. Keeping your chin level, so your eye line stays level, we're going to create a double chin. So we're going to press back, and then bring the head forward, or leave the fingers where they are. Press back, creating that double chin, and coming forward. Just lengthening down through the back of the neck. 3, 4 or 5 of those is all you need. And then from there, come in, and let's just have a little shift of weight from side to side. In our seated position, that shift of weight is from one buttock to the other. So again, we shift that weight across, feeling the weight lifting off one buttock and onto the other. Feel your sitting bones moving your bottom, shifting that way. Now, just to mobilise those shoulders a little bit more, bring the arm across and back, and then repeat it on the other side. Cross and back. If you feel comfortable with it, then both arms together. And if you can, place your palms to the floor one way and turn them towards the ceiling the other way so you get some rotational movement through your wrists. All the time taking deep breaths in through your nose and out through your mouth. Hold it there, take a pause. In our standing position, our heels are outside our hips. Try and keep these hips locked for me. Turn to the side. Come back into the centre with a little pause, and then turn the other way. In our seated position, then we should feel no distribution or no change of weight through our bottom as we bring that rotation in. Turning the trunk to the side, and then back in to the centre with a little pause. Again, this can challenge your balance, that movement of head. So again, if you want to use some external support, feel free. From there, let's take it into a bigger movement this time. So as we turn, can you see how I lift the heel off the foot on one side? So I'm lifting and turning in our seated position, exactly the same. Turn a little bit more, and this time, feel that bottom lifting off the seat a little bit. It's not a big move, it's just about mobilising. And then hold it there in the centre, reset. Let's lift our posture back up and down. Just slide one hand down to the side, back up with a little pause, and then across the other way. Just working through our trunk, and our trunk plays an important part in everything that we do. Think about the movements that you do in everyday life. Think about rolling over in bed, and that action happens from within here. Keep that going on the other side. In our seated position again in the front third of the chair, use the chair leg as a guide. Your aim here is to come straight down to the side, not to come forward or backwards, to just come straight down. So if I come sideways on before you look, can you see how that motion is there? Straight down, straight back up, with that little pause in the centre. That little pause just allows us to reflect and consider our posture. Are we standing tall, resetting and lifting ourselves a little bit higher? From there, take a pause, and let's bring this sway back in with those arms, or single arm, and changing as you feel fit, as you feel comfortable. Now in your seated position, exactly the same with the arms. Again, just remember that we're shifting the weight from one side to the other. And I've picked a creaky chair today, I don't know if you can hear that. Chair's creaking behind me. So we've got that flowing motion, working through our shoulders, working through our hips. Okay, from there, come on in. Take a deep breath in, and shake it out. Lift up, breathing in, and shake it out. From the side look, we lift up, stand tall, but don't knock the knees out. As we shake out, we bend those knees this time, and let ourselves fall into this. Pushing away. In our seated position, and as we lift up, lift your heels off the floor, and then push them down. So lift and press. Great job. A couple more of those. Excellent. From there, release. Okay. Take a wider stance for me if you can, and bring your weight down onto one side. Just lengthen through this muscle on the inside of the thigh, on here. In your seated position, what you're going to do for me is just press that leg away. So sitting tall, just pressing that foot outwards to the side, pressing the knee away, so you feel a little lengthening of the muscle down through the inner thigh. In our standing position, come back into the centre and take it down the other way. Now in your standing position, this knee comes no further forward than your toes. Just feel a lengthening through the inside of your thigh. If you can't feel it, take that leg away a little bit further and sink a little bit further. But again, make sure this knee comes no further forward than your shoes, than your toes. Come back into the centre, bring it in, and just have a little walk through there, just to release out and shake it all out. Okay, from there, feet shoulders width apart. Bring the arm in, lean across and push away. Pull it back in, sinking through and back down. So breathe in and push away. Pulling it back, sinking into it and lifting tall. Again, same way, shifting the weight across from side to side as you push away and then pull back in, sinking down and rising. You just step a little bit further back so you can see the arm movements on this. So we come down, we shift the weight, we push away on one side, pulling back, coming into the centre and releasing. Then again on the other side, we can do the same. We can push away, pull back, come into the centre and release. In our seated position, then exactly the same movements as far as our arm is concerned, and it's about shifting the weight across. You may have a little less action here as far as movement-wise is concerned because your legs are in front of you, but come out to the side, shift the weight across, bring the hand together and push against it. Now pull back in and bring those arms back in and sit tall. Yeah? Your arm movements, as you push away, imagine you're pushing against one hand, and then as you pull back in, look, imagine you're pulling on a rope. So bring your hands together as if you're gripping to pull back in, and feel that resistance there. So we take it out, we come up and we lean across, shifting that weight, pushing away, and imagine you are pushing something, and then grab hold of that rope and pull it back in towards you as you shift the weight. Coming into the centre, we lift and we reset. Other way, we come up, we bring the hands out, and we push away. Shifting the weight back, we pull it back into us, we push down, and we reset. Again, shifting the weight from side to side. Now, our shift of weight from side to side is something that we do every day. We do it continually throughout the day without even realising that we're doing it. As we walk, we shift the weight from side to side. as we go through our day, we're shifting the weight from side to side, whether it be reaching for an object. Again, we are shifting the weight. So this is good practice for our body to get used to the movements that we make, for our body to practice how one part of the body supports the other, which muscles tighten, which muscles loosen to enable that movement to happen. Take a little pause there for me and just have a breather. Breathe in and out. Now I want to focus on breathing in through your nose and out through your mouth. And as you breathe out through your mouth, purse your lips. Feel and hear that air coming out, pushing all of the air out of your body. By standing taller, thinking about our posture, or sitting taller, thinking about our posture, all of the time, we're increasing the capacity within our chest, within our chest cavity, to allow the lungs to expand further. So use that extra area that you have to take a good, deep breath and breathe it back out. From there, take a pause. Let's move on to another movement here. So again, standing with our feet shoulders width, but step forward diagonally. Okay? So in our standing position, shoulders width firstly, and then we're going to step forward diagonally. One hand is going to come across this way. Circular motion. You come forward a little bit so you can see that circular motion. And then the other hand is going to do the same in a reverse motion. Okay? And imagine you're wiping across a flat surface. So when we feel comfortable with it, we can bring both arms in. Yeah? We've got that position with our feet staggered, one foot in front of the other diagonally, and our weight currently even between the 2 feet. That's our arm movement to start off with. Have a look at the feet. They're here. The weight is even. There's a slight bend in the knees this time. So remember I said when we started not to lock the knees out. Now we're bending them a little bit. And our movement here is going to be to shift that weight onto the front foot and then to shift it back. To shift it forward and to shift it back. In our seated position, hand movement is exactly the same. And if you can't quite bring the hands up as high as I did, you take them where it's comfortable for you. Your movement here, again you have your legs staggered. So one foot is diagonally in front of the other, and you have that shift of weight. You'll feel the weight shifting through your sitting bone. But have a look from the side. What we've got is a hinge of the hip. So sitting tall, we hinge forward and we come back. The back stays straight. There is no bend from the waist. So if I bend from the waist up, there's the difference. Sitting tall, imagine a plank down your back, and your back is against that, so you've got this straight alignment, and the tip moves, generates, and happens from our hip. If you picture a hinge on a door, this is exactly what you're doing. Both sides of the hinge are rigid. They just fold towards each other, and then they open out. And that is exactly the movement you are doing in that seated position. Keeping the pressure off your back, hinging forward, and coming backwards again. Okay, so put the two parts together in our standing position, in our seated position. One hand in, and then when you're ready, bring the other hand in. Again, imagine that you're on a flat surface. So this could be even the kitchen, wiping the work surface down. Let's shift the weight forward and shift the weight backwards. we shift the weight forward and we shift the weight backwards. Standing tall the whole time, so we've got a good upright posture through our body. Just pressing forward and coming back down. Controlled movements. Both feet flat on the floor, whether we're seated or standing. The weight just shifts. Feel that weight distributing between your front leg and your back leg. That shift of the weight. In your seated position, you'll feel it slightly through your legs as well, but feel the difference of the weight on your sitting bones. Okay, from here, we're going to pause at the front. We're going to step in, taking a toe heel down. We step out on the other foot, and in your seated position, exactly the same. This time, if you can, take the hands the other way around, and when you're ready, bring in the other hand. Gain a flat surface. Shift that weight forward and shift it back. Shift it forward and bring it back. Again, distributing that weight across the front and the back leg. Across your sitting bones in your seated position, feeling that weight changing through the front of your legs as well in a seated position, but mostly through your sitting bones. Okay, from there, take a pause and step back in, toe heel. Have a look at your next movement, leg-wise. I'm going to step forward, heel toe. I'm going to shift the weight back and lift the toe off the floor, and they're going to come forward, lifting onto the toes at the back, putting the heel down and stepping back in, toe heel. Again, I step out on the other leg, heel toe, shifting the weight forward, keeping the foot flat on the floor, shifting back and lifting those toes. As I come forward, I lift onto my toes at the back, and then back down and step back in. From the side, have a look. So, step forward, shift the weight. Feet are flat on the floor, look. As I shift back, I lift to come onto my heel. Shift forward and lift onto your toes and tall, coming back in and stepping in, toe heel. Step forward, heel toe, feet flat, shifting the weight back and coming onto my heel. Shifting forwards and lifting onto the toes at the back, coming back in, lifting the toes and stepping back in, toe heel. In our seated position, exactly the same. Start your feet a little bit behind your knees this time, so you can step forward. That hinge from your hip again, shifting the weight back and lifting your toes. Come forward, lift onto your toes at the front as you hinge forward, come back in and step back in, toe heel. Heel toe, come forward, come back, and as you come back, lift onto your heel. Come forward, lifting onto the toes at the back, stepping back in. That's our first movement of those feet. And it's exactly the same in our seated position. We just utilise that hip hinge again. Second movement, we step out, we lean across, come back in, centre, and step. Other side, step back out, toe heel, shift the weight into the centre, and step back in. That's our first part of that move. Our second part, we turn and step, heel toe. We come back in and lift onto our heel, come forward and step back in. Other side, turn this time. So there was that trunk turn we did in our warm-up. Lifting onto the heel, come back into the centre, and as you come back into the centre, step in. So now our feet look like this. I step forward, shift the weight onto the back, come forward, onto the toes at the back, step back in. I step out to the side, toe heel, both feet facing forward, just shifting the weight from side to side. I come back into the centre, and this time I turn to the side, pushing away, shifting onto the heel, coming forward again, and stepping back in. And then onto the other side. In our seated position, that movement there, look, stepping forward, hinging from our hip, coming back and bringing the toes off the floor, coming forward and lifting the heel off at the back, coming back in and stepping back in, toe heel. To the side, toe heel and shift the weight across, shift it back and then step in. This time you're going to put a little turn in there with your bottom, so you're going to take that foot out diagonally, come forward, and your hinge is diagonal this time, so as if you're reaching to pick something up. Come back and lift onto those heels, come forward and step back in, bringing the foot to the front, toe heel. Yeah? So, there's our foot movement. Let's do that and then we'll add some arm movements into it. So firstly, we step forward. We shift the weight back, lifting onto our heels. We come forward onto our toes and we step back in. Stepping out to the side, toe heel, we just shift the weight across and back. We come across again and this time we just step back in. This time we put that turn in. We take it away. We come back in onto the heel, come forward and step back in. Push away. Bring it back in. Push away onto your toes and step in. To the side, we take it out. We come back in, we take it out and we step in. This time we turn, we push, reaching away, bringing it back in towards us, pushing away and stepping in. So one hand pushes forward, you bring it back towards you as the heel comes up. You push away again as you lift onto your toes and pull back in. To the side, push away. Come back in, both hands on top or to the side. The choice is yours. Stepping in. From here, both hands push away. You bring it back in with palms to the ceiling. Push away again. Bring it back in and step in. In our seated position, exactly the same. So again, we step forward, just pushing with one hand, keeping that hand there as we come back, push away again, and then bring it back in. To the side, now your hands can either go here or here, whichever feels comfortable to you. Step to the side. Imagine you're holding a box or a ball in front of you and try and keep those hands the same distance apart. This time we step and we turn. Turning the hands to push away and then towards the ceiling as we come on in and stepping in. One more time through, we push away on one hand. Keeping the hand where it is, we shift the weight and lift onto our heel. Push away, step back in. To the side, toe heel out to the side and a weight shift, back into the centre, a weight shift and a lift back into the centre. Step out sideways, heel toe, push away and pull back in, lifting onto that heel, push away and pull back in, stepping in. From there, take a deep breath. Again, taking the hands up to where you feel comfortable, doesn't have to be this high. thumbs towards the ceiling as you breathe on out. One last movement for us to do, and this is focusing on our balance. So, from here, have some support available if you need it. Good place to do this is in the kitchen where you have a work surface, which is an ideal height. In a seated position, I'll show you in a second. Our movement is going to be a step out to the side, heel toe, a shift of weight back into the centre and a lift. We step down, we step out to the side, heel toe, we bring the weight back into the centre and we lift, coming back down. So we're out, we come back in, and as we come into the centre, we lift. Have a look from the side. Have a look at the supporting leg and the leg that is moving. So stepping out to the side, heel toe. As I come back into the centre, I stand tall and I lift onto one leg, placing that foot down. On the other side, I step out, I come back in. Once I'm in my centre, I lift and I place down. That lift of the knee is where you feel comfortable, and if you need to use your support, have it available. So you've got your step out, you've got your lift in and lower. In our seated position, then what we're going to do is take a step out to the side, and we're going to come on in, lift that foot, but sit tall. So, as I lift you up, what we don't want to do is lean back. So as we lift that knee, we sit tall, and we take it down. The other foot comes out, we place it at the side, we bring it in, and we lift. You're going to feel this into your hip flexors, muscles here, and these muscles generate most of our movement as far as walking and stepping is concerned. So as we walk, that first movement of lifting that foot, the hip flexor, kicks in. As you climb the stairs, that movement there, your hip flexor kicks in. This is about balance, and the leg that's supporting you, the knee, is soft, but it's not bent too much, yeah? So it's not locked out, soft, so you've got some movement there, all right? And the length of time that you hold that knee up for, and the height that you bring it to, is what is right for you. So one more time, a couple of times I'll take you through. We step out, we come on in, and we lift. Coming back down the other side, we step out, we come back in, and we lift. Now, if you feel comfortable with it, your hand movement is to reach out, come back in, and lift tall, placing the hands in front of each other. Coming down, stepping out, coming in, and lifting tall. And again, remember that that movement is as big or as small as you want it to be. The pause is as long as you want it to be. A couple more of those. And then from there, take a pause, take a deep breath in. And release out. Wonderful. Okay, let's relax. Let's focus on our breathing to finish off today. So, let's all come into a seated position. If we're coming from a standing to a seated position, then what I want you to do is feel that chair behind you. Feel it on the back of your legs. Now lower with control into that seated position. From there, take a little hip walk to the front third of the chair. So we're sitting in the front third of the chair. Focus on our posture, lift tall. Growing between our ribs and our hips, lengthening through our neck. Sitting tall there for me. Place your hands onto your knees. Take a deep breath in. And out. Again, just focusing on your breathing in and your breathing out. So feel your lungs filling with oxygen. feel your chest expanding as you fill the lungs. And then as you breathe out, bring your lips together and hear and feel the air being pushed out. So try and get all of the air out before you take another deep breath in. Now, from there, try and clear your mind. So forget about anything else you have to do later on. Take this time just to focus on yourself. In your mind, picture yourself somewhere where you feel comfortable, somewhere where you feel relaxed and at ease. That could be at home in your favourite chair, in the garden, in bed, with family, or perhaps on a beach somewhere. Just try and focus and see that place in your mind's eye. If it helps, close your eyes. Keeping that breathing going, but not focusing on it anymore. Focusing on you, focusing on your happy place. Somewhere where you feel relaxed, totally comfortable. See yourself in that place and relax. Now from there, start to feel your shoulders relax a little bit as well. So take time to lose some of that posture. Let yourself sink a little bit into it. Keeping the breathing going. Focusing on that image in your mind's eye. Breathing deeply in through your nose and out through your mouth. Take your head across to one side and just bring your ear down towards your shoulder. Lengthening through the side of your neck. Feel a stretch down its opposite side. Come back into the centre and then across to the other side, just feeling that stretch and that lengthening down the side of your neck. Placing the ear down towards the shoulder. Keep the shoulder relaxed, so you take the ear towards it and just go as far as you can. Come back in, and then from there, just place your chin onto your chest. So letting your head come forward, just place your chin on your chest. And release, and sit tall. From there, take one leg out in front. Come back to this, one leg out in front. Place the heel onto the floor. Sit tall, placing your hands on your bent knee, relax your toes, and then just hinge from your hip to come forward. Feel a lengthening of the muscle at the back of your thigh. Now if you can, when you take a deep breath in, as you breathe out, try and come a little bit further forward. But if you feel any heat or pain or twinging in that muscle, release out. Sit tall. Feel that stretch end. Slide your heel away from you, bringing your toes towards you, and feel the stretch move down. So that lengthening of the muscle in the back of your lower leg into your calf. Holding it for around 12 to 20 seconds. And then releasing out, bring that foot in and feel the leg relax. Feel the stretch ending. Take the other foot out. Heel down, toes up but relaxed. Sitting tall, hand on the bent knee, hinge from your hip to come forward. And feel that stretch into the back of your thigh. If you feel it in your calf as well, relax the toes a little bit more. Sitting tall, push the heel away, bring the toes in towards you and feel the lengthening of the muscle into the back of your leg, into your lower leg, into your calf. Releasing out, bringing that foot in so you feel the stretch. From there, just take a deep breath in for me, bring the hands to where it's comfortable for you, and out. Palms towards the floor as you raise the hands up, towards the ceiling as you bring them down. Still sitting tall, still focusing on your posture. One last time here, taking them up, bring them halfway down. When you get to the halfway point, bring the hands in towards the front. Draw them in towards you, then release with the palms towards the ceiling, push away, come down, and roll with those shoulders to release out. There's your magical movements for today. Have an amazing weekend, everybody. Have a look at those movements, practice them. The shifting of weight from side to side, the movement of the arms. They are movements we do in everyday life. This is an opportunity to focus onto those movements, to experience how they feel, and for the brain to practice the change in body structure, the change in muscle tone that is needed to achieve those movements. Have an amazing week, everybody. Please let me have your feedback and any comments you may have, and I will see you again real soon. Take care. Bye-bye.